flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This is the Preble Town Board meeting of November 13th, 2023. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to the October minutes or the public hearing on November 6th?
Make a motion to accept the minutes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Jen?
Dog control for October, one stray picked up and returned to the owner. Justice report, $13,422 in fines collected last month.
Thanks, Jen. Highway report, Jeff?
You've got a copy of my report, just some things that stand out. FEMA, they're getting around again, more papers to be signed. They promised me that they'll be ready to go, or we can get this out and go in the spring, so we'll see. I turned in $185,379 for CHIPS reimbursement. Monday morning, a week ago today, I got a phone call that Kelly from PESH, which is the same as OSHA, was at the shop for an unannounced visit. So PESH is now going through the highway garage. I don't expect any problems, but they're back at it. And just as a side note, there's now a Narcan box in front of the fire station. Somebody wants to stop, it's anonymous. You can grab Narcan if you feel that you might be around somebody who might need it. Okay? Any questions? Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Jeff.
Good job.
Recreation. Everybody to recreation. Dave, want to say something? Okay.
Yeah, summer's gone. It's that whole summer. We did the band finale of a party, a Halloween party for the kids, which was quite well attended. Went over with a big success, as far as I could see. That's not it.
Okay. Thanks, Dave. How about town historian?
Yes.
Jay?
Right down the line there.
Yeah.
So, next week, the county historians have put together a historian's trail. So, people are invited to go around to all the county historians and see their collections and ask questions and stuff like that. And so next week, Wednesday from 5 to 7, Saturday 10 to 12, I'll be here. I'll have stuff set up for a presentation, display type thing, where people can come in and see what we've been doing, see what we got in our archives and that sort of stuff. So you're more than welcome to stop by
So you're going to give a presentation on Wednesday evening
Wednesday and Saturday.
and Saturday morning.
Same
Okay.
presentation,
What's
same, everything gonna be the same.
Both days?
Yeah,
Yes.
so if you can't make one, you can go make the
Yes.
other.
And you have a PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the PowerPoint will have over 500 pictures on it. So it's,
Mhm.
up to date stuff, old stuff, and everything in between.
Do you know the stories on each picture?
I got another 150 photos to go and then put it all in.
Okay. Okay.
So,
Thanks, Jay.
Yep.
All right.
We're gonna need some more chairs.
Yeah, you want to put some out? Somebody can sit at that corner desk there. Yeah. Okay, county legislator, Kevin, you're up.
That's me.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of funny is I just came from the town of Scotts meeting. And when I was town supervisor for 10 years, I had never had a lot of people at our meetings. They were standing room only. Okay, now we're in. So either we were doing a great job or no one knew we existed, one or the other, you know, for that. So does everybody know me? You know? No, okay, so I'm Kevin Fitch, York County legislator and chair of the legislature for here. So for us, coming up, since it's a short month, Thursday is our session. We are going to be voting on our county budget, which is up 1.18% from last year. So we feel that that's a success for everything. I was over with the sheriff, but I come to everybody's place. But just to let everyone know is that we do have a new undersheriff now, Chad Burhans, who is now taking the reins to the jail and helping out the sheriff. So I do expect them to come through and to meet everybody and get introduced for that. Other than that, it's kind of like a small month, but I am here to answer any questions anybody has if they have any. So. No questions?
Kevin, what is the status of the lawsuit with the insurance?
We went to court today. We'll see.
Mhm.
It was pretty much closing arguments that they had for that. So we try not to comment on any of that until
Mhm.
after.
Understandable.
Does anybody else have any other questions? So does that mean we're doing a good job or you don't know us? Who we are? What is it? So, okay.
Kevin, how many positions are available with the county right now?
Well, actually, we had 80. And then last month, we actually did well. We ended up with 25 new hires. But then we had 7 vacancies. So it's up and down, you know, for those. So
So if anybody knows, anybody who's looking for a job, they can go to the county, right?
yep, we're there.
We're hiring.
County
Yep.
website or something?
It's on the county website. Yep. And there are positions, because we were hurting pretty good for positions where we waived the civil service fee so that people don't have to pay for it. So, you know, those are kind of like, I'll tell you, the state and civil service is kind of odd because you can get hired and not take it. And then you have a certain amount of time to take it because it's only offered at a certain amount of time from the state. So to me, is if it takes you 3 years to be able to take that exam, your experience should be better. So one of the things we started doing was really, when we hire, we try to help them take the exam because sometimes the exams are really odd on what they are. So those are some of the funny things about that I found, you know, with government. And DOT, Town of Scott's hurting for a plow driver for that. The other thing is that we did have, and we definitely need the town supervisor to attend, is that we're looking at shared services. So the state of New York allows us to try to consolidate services or to help each other out from county to municipalities. It's more of an efficiency thing. And the one thing that the carrot that they hold is that if we have a shared service report and proposal and we send it to the state, then any of the savings that we get 95% of that savings back to everyone to share, you know, for that. So some of the things that we had at this first meeting for shared services was IT. So we are offering, for the county, is we're offering any municipality to utilize our IT department. There's a lot of sharing that we already do with tax collection, stuff like that. But what we have found is with a lot of the outlying municipalities aren't secure. There's no security there. And it's not because, you know, they don't want it, or they just don't know how to do it. That's where we want to be able to utilize our IT to be able to help out the municipalities. Purchasing computers on a routine basis helps you with that. And we can buy bulk, which helps with the pricing. So anyone that wants to get into that, the reason why I say that for the supervisor is because the state of New York is very specific. And it's a voluntary thing, but we need all the town supervisors to be there to vote on it, and it has to be unanimous. So for our proposal to be submitted, has to be voted by the quorum of all supervisors and mayors. And then at that point, it's a voluntary basis. So you could work with us, you could work with a school district, you could work with a neighboring municipality. Once they do all that stuff, then any of the savings that you get 95% of that back. So we were looking at that. I know the dreaded real property tax office for us, assessments. And people don't want to hear that one, you know, having a countywide assessment. But we are finding, and I think you are finding, that a lot of the municipalities assessed values are in the 60 percentile, I think. And I remember when we all, pretty much all used to be 100% equalization rate. And so we are going to start reaching out to municipalities and showing them what does that mean, and what does that mean to the resident or the property owner. Because it's not always, you're raising my value, my taxes go up. If anything, you raise your value, your taxes go down, because it just shares across the board for that. But we'll get more into that. But the deadline is December 8th, I think. And I didn't know if you received the invitation or not.
I did not receive the invitation yet.
Okay, all right. I'll make sure you do.
Okay.
So you're on there. Planning department. Is this Thursday before session at 4 o'clock is the invite for any planning board member or leader to go to Trish Hemstra, who's our director of planning, is having kind of like a meet and greet of our new IDA director for that. He's a real good guy, and he wants to work with municipalities, but he really wants to do what the town wants, which is, to me, is refreshing compared to others that we have. So I think that is a huge thing. So it's open, it's at 4 o'clock at the McNeil building on Main Street in Portland. So,
Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah.
Okay. Jen?
Zoning and code enforcement October report. 4 building permits issued, 78 miles traveled, 16 building inspections, 32 hours worked, 1 fire inspection, 0 complaint follow-ups, 23 telephone inquiries. The next planning board meeting is November 15th at 7 p.m. The next ZBA meeting is December 7th at 7:30 p.m.
And the historian already reported.
Town clerk fees collected in October, $1,437. Dispersed $1,437 was the total. Dispersed $1,430 to the town of Preble and $7 to New York State Ag and Market.
Unfinished business, LED street lighting. Jim, you have a
I
report? on
haven't heard
it for us?
anything from National Grid. Have you,
I
John?
have not.
So I'm gonna reach out. I'm gonna call
Okay,
Bradley.
okay. And then we have the comprehensive plan, which we're still working on. Don, could you give us a little update on that?
Yeah, the planning board has continued to work very diligently on that. Peter has, remember the planning board, Peter tonight? He put together and the planning board went over some proposed changes last week. We have a meeting up 2 days from now.
Mhm.
So we're gonna work on that. And our goal is to complete, the planning board's goal is to complete their work in such a fashion that at the December meeting, the town board will have the version that you can then go from. There is a special, there's a public hearing that the planning board has approved for November 29. It's a public hearing on the proposed comprehensive plan. And then also a special planning board meeting is to follow with the idea that, subject to the input from the public hearing, that the board would finalize and make a recommendation of the version they have to be forwarded to the town board for consideration and action.
Thanks, Don. Okay, so let's go to new business now. We received a letter from New York State Ag and Markets, and this has to do with the request from a resident concerning an opinion pursuant to section 308 of New York State Ag and Markets law about manure spreading. And so this will be in the works. We'll be following up with Preble Hill Farm on this, but this is just for our information. Okay, so let's see, new business, the newsletter, the Preble newsletter is coming out within this week. So before Thanksgiving, everybody should get a copy of it. Budget for 2024, we had a public hearing last Tuesday and last Monday, right? Monday.
Monday.
And so we had the public hearing, so now we must vote on the 2024 budget. Is there any discussion within the board about the budget? We went
No,
over it
the,
twice.
Yeah, the tax rate went down,
Mhm.
so there's no new tax increase in the assessed valuation or in the
Mhm.
assessment for the taxes.
Yeah, actually, the rate went down.
Went
like you
down,
said.
yep.
Mhm. Okay, so we need a motion to pass the 24 budget.
I'll make a motion to pass the 24 budget.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Board of Assessment Review members, we're lacking one member on the Board of Assessment Review. This is a position that meets in May, once a year, and it deals with people who want to challenge their assessment for their property. So we do need one person on that board. If anybody knows of anyone who'd like to be on that board, there is a position available for that. Okay, monies received, we received $779 from the USPS, Cortland County mortgage tax for the second quarter, third quarter, well, it looks like 6 months, was $6,910.36. Cortland County third quarter sales tax was $158,535.18. Now I'd like to open up the meeting for a public hearing. Our board will go into executive session after the public comment, not a public hearing, but public comments and questions for the board. And then after that, actually, right now, we can pay the bills right now and then we'll go into questions and answers, and then we'll go into executive session. So we need a motion to pay the general fund vouchers.
Make a motion, pay general fund vouchers abstracts number 11, numbers 191 to 215, totaling $10,938.14.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Carried. We need a motion to pay the highway fund vouchers.
I'll make a motion to pay the highway fund vouchers abstract number 11, numbers 116 to 133, totaling $31,363.18.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Okay, so at this time, we will open up the floor for comments, questions, anything that anybody has to say. After that, we will go into executive session and for the possibility of litigation. And then after we get out of executive session, we will adjourn the meeting. So, Skip?
I would just like to present a petition to the town of Preble representatives. And can I read it out loud?
Yeah.
We, the residents of Preble, wish to express our concerns about short-term rentals. We strongly oppose these rentals of less than 30-day stays and ask that our officials ban all rentals of 30 days or less. We feel these are run like businesses in a residentially zoned area and are detrimental to our neighbors, sincerely. And there's 60 people that have signed these. So I'd like to submit a copy to all of you. And Don, do you want one?
Only if you have an extra copy.
And the other, however you many you need, there's 5 here, so.
I can make a copy.
Okay. Well, there's 5 here. so-
There's 5 here. so.
Okay.
Can you pass those around?
If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Do what I can. But,
What's your name, sir?
my name is Jack DeRocha. And there's about 60 people that have signed them. They're all residents of Preble. Most of them are right in the Song Lake area. There are several on Tully Lake also. But those residents do reside in the town of Preble.
Okay.
Okay?
Very good. Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. Anybody else?
May I speak? May I have your name, please?
Jennifer Gallagher. Good evening. My name is Jennifer Gallagher, and I live in the town of Fabius. I'm a volunteer with New York Citizens Audit, not an official spokesperson. I'm here today to share with you the information in our published reports, which are based on thousands of hours of research by hundreds of people. For an official response to specific questions regarding these findings, I can provide you with a written answer from our volunteer executive team in as timely a fashion as possible. New York State Citizens Audit is a nonpartisan group of concerned citizens from Buffalo to Long Island. We are professionals, parents, farmers, lawyers, nurses, and grandparents all working together to pool our resources and talents. We demand accurate and provable elections. I became personally involved with New York Citizens Audit when I looked at the findings. As a previous town tax collector for over 20 years, I could not make any changes to the tax roll I managed in my office. I could only make requested changes by homeowners, run a report, and the county was responsible to make those corrections. No one else could make those changes. This includes voter rolls. No changes can be made by anyone except the county. When I saw over 1 million changes made to the voter rolls at the state level, I saw many laws being broken, so I became involved. These findings became personal to me as a professional and a citizen. In order for elections in our state to be accurate and provable, the numbers must balance, just like in my tax office. Our state election results must balance, but they do not. If you had a $1,000 deficit in your bank account, wouldn't you contact the bank? We are here today to ask for an end-to-end audit of the 2022 general election to see where these discrepancies are coming from. We brought both the 2020 general election, a study in deficits, and the 2022 general election, a reign of error reports, plus a resolution for an audit of the 2022 general election for today for you to review. After reviewing these reports, I hope you will all agree that an end-to-end audit of the general election is warranted. Thank you for your consideration. Now I'd like to introduce Linda.
Good evening. Thank you for having us here. My name is Linda Burkhart, and I actually live in northern Broome County. We've been doing these presentations, many of them in Broome County, Tioga, Tompkins, and we're helping out now in Portland County. So who is New York Citizens Audit, or NYCA? Back in July of 21, there were a lot of people that were unemployed, were not allowed to return to their places of work, and they discovered each other basically on the internet, and decided that they didn't like the state of things in both the country and New York State, and they just put their heads together and they're like, well, let's foil the New York State voter database. And that's exactly what they did. They really didn't, honestly, if you talk to them, didn't expect to find anything because we're such a deep blue state. And again, we are nonpartisan. That was just their thought at the time of their FOIL requests. Much to their surprise, after they foiled the New York State voter database, the researchers then sorted the data into a searchable format and then started writing software to make specific queries of the database. And what they found was absolutely astounding. A lot of you have in front of you the summary sheets. There are full reports that match the page numbers on those, the factoids on that summary sheet at auditny.com. So if you go to auditny.com, all of these materials plus additional materials are there, as well as videos that explain the methodology. The numbers are huge. In 2022, which was, an off year, so to speak, there were over 35,000 more votes cast than voters who voted, cast and counted and certified by our Secretary of State. That's a big number. In 2020, there were over 338,000 votes cast and counted than there were voters that voted. And that election was certified by our Secretary of State. In addition, if you query all of the numbers from the Secretary of State, the New York State Board of Elections, and the county boards of elections, none of the totals match. None of them. They're not even close. So there's obviously something that needs to be paid attention to. I just want to reiterate also that this is all FOIL data from our government. It's their data. We just analyzed it. They keep trying to say our data. It's not our data. Their data. They gave it to us. We looked at it. So what did New York Citizens Audit do next? The information was taken back to the populations in many counties in the form of petitions. And people who were volunteering at that time got petitions from their counties. They were then taken to the Secretary of State, Attorney General's office, New York State Board of Elections, and they were also deposited with the New York State Police Special Investigations Unit. The Special Investigations Unit for the State Police deemed that they could not tell whether it was domestic or foreign treason, so they passed it along to the FBI. The Secretary of State boxed all 29 of them up and sent them back. I'm not sure what happened to the one in the Attorney General's office. I'm not privy to information. So then we went to the Assembly, try the legal route. We met with over 100 Assembly people in January of 2023 to no avail. A special presentation was prepared and delivered to the state and Assembly election committees in May. Nothing. Crickets, total crickets. Very, very importantly, in May of 2023, The work of our lead researcher at the time, Dr. Andrew Paquette, was triple blind reviewed and published in the Journal of Information Warfare. This is a journal that is overseen by cybersecurity specialists, and his science and his methodology have pretty much been confirmed as solid science. The article specifically deals with the existence of 4 algorithms running within the New York State voter database. We do not know who has done this. It could be foreign or domestic, but the breach is so egregious by CISA standards, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency standards, it has been determined it qualifies as a total loss of control. Worse yet, the same algorithms have been found in voter databases in other states. So why are we here? We are here on an information sharing campaign. Now that you are informed, we are asking you as elected officials to recognize that our voter database needs to be audited. We have a resolution prepared specifically for your town, and it can be voted on at your earliest convenience. An affirmative vote will send the message that action needs to be taken at the next level for an independent audit of the New York State voter database. If approved, we would hope that you would inform your county legislature of your support for an audit. You as elected officials all have to follow the law. Every time you meet, whenever you make a decision regarding this town, and you should expect nothing less of our elected and unelected officials that are in control of our elections up in Albany. I'd like to pass now along the torch to Rich Bednar. You have the privilege, he doesn't get to do this very often, to really explain what he has found in that voter database because he works with it on a daily basis. Thank you very much.
As Linda said, my name is Rich Bednar, and I'm on the research team. I'm the guy that looks at the data.
Louder,
finds
please.
all. Excuse me?
Louder,
Louder,
please.
please. Okay. So I don't want to repeat what Jenny said. The opinions that are expressed by myself and others are those are individual opinions, not necessarily those of NICA, New York Citizens Audit. So as has been mentioned, NICA was formed in the summer of 2021. We got about 2,000 volunteers. We're nonpartisan. We don't care whether the Democrats get elected or the Republicans. All we care is that the elections are fair and accurate. So our primary message here today is that New York State Board of Elections is broken thoroughly. And we're going to explain what we're trying to do to fix things. And we're going to tell you how you can help out. So a little election law background. There's a couple pieces of federal legislations. The first one is the National Voter Registration Act of 1993, abbreviated as NIVRA. There's also the Help America Vote Act of 2002, which is abbreviated as HAVA. And these are black letter law. And by that we mean it's law that a person with a high school level can read and understand. So we would expect that the Board of Elections people can read it and understand it, but that's not happening. So how did we reach this conclusion? First of all, we're not a bunch of tin hat wearing kooks. What I'm going to talk about here is how we analyze the data, and it's a sound, scientific, methodical, repeatable process. And as Linda said, we foiled the Board of Elections. We won't ask them for the copies of the voter rolls. I personally have 5 sets of voter rolls on my laptop. When we get that data, it's got about 21 million rows in it. It's got 46 columns. We take that data and we import it into a SQLite database, which is a relational database that allows you to write queries against it. We also add about a dozen columns to that data. We don't change New York State's data. We add data, make analysis easier. For example, when we get the data from the Board of Elections, it has a county number. There's 62 counties in New York. We turn that number into the name, Portland County, actually, so it's easier for analysis. So what did we find? Well, we found a lot of violations of law, things like people registering before the age of 16. We found evidence of people voting before the age of 18. We found registration dates that missed the cutoff. So the Board of Election, when a election is approaching, they set a cutoff date for registrations. And we're finding many cases where that date was missed and a person went on to vote. We're finding a lot of cases where there's registrations occurring on a federal holiday. On federal holidays, the Board of Elections offices are closed with the notable exception of Columbus Day. We've been told that because Columbus Day is so close to an approaching election that it's common for Board of Election people to work on that date. But by far and large, the holiday, the federal holiday with the highest number of registrations is January 1st. And I have no idea why January 1st receives that honor. We're finding counterfeit registrations. When you get registered with New York State is, the Board of Elections assigns you a state voter ID. And that's supposed to be a one-to-one relationship. One person gets one ID. And if you look up the ID, you should only find one person attached to it. Instead, we're finding a many-to-many relationship. All right. So we're calling those counterfeits. And we're calling them counterfeits because you need a Board of Election ID in order to vote. If a person has several of them, potentially they could cast several votes. We're not saying they did, but it's possible. And we're finding a lot of illogical data conditions, like cases where a vote was cast before the registration date. We've also found a lot of suspicious conditions, things like date of births changing, first names changing, last names changing. And those are suspicious because what we did was we like to get a copy of the voter rolls preceding an election and then get a copy right after the election has been certified. So we took a look at the 2022 database. We compared the October 2022, which is before the election, to December of 2022. And we're literally finding thousands of name changes in there in about an 8-week period or less. Date of birth. I mean, I've been registered for 50 years. I've never changed my name. I've never changed my date of birth. So these are suspicious. We'd like to know why all that activity is going on. We found a lot of illogical conditions, like voters. The oldest voter in the New York State database is 188 years old in 2022. The oldest person casting a ballot in 2022 was 172 years old. I was asked, are dead voters voting in New York? And the answer is yes, they are. And I will qualify that by saying there were about 60 votes cast in 2022 by dead people. Now, the majority of those, about 58 of them, were absentee ballots. So it's conceivable that a person requested an absentee ballot, they dropped it in the mail, they died before the election. That could be happening. I don't know if that's legal or not. That's one of my questions. I'm going to talk to somebody in the Board of Elections after they're not so busy with the current election. But we also found a case where there was a person who voted at the polls 3 weeks after their death. That was in Schenectady County. In Tioga County, we found a person who died way back in 2003, and they voted in the 2022 election via an affidavit ballot at the poll. And most troubling, as Linda touched on, there's an algorithm. There's not just one algorithm in our data rolls. The doctor, person with a PhD that did the analysis, he actually found 4 different algorithms in there. We don't know why. We don't know why they're in there. We don't know who holds the keys to those algorithms. But those algorithms appear to be being used to assign specific state IDs. In other words, we can almost predict with certainty what state ID is going to be assigned to a person based on their county ID. We're also finding that the algorithms are placing data in a specific location in the database. And as Linda mentioned, the person who discovered these algorithms published an article. It was published in a scientific journal, and it was double-blind, peer-reviewed. So the author didn't know who was doing the reviews, and the reviewers didn't know who the author was. So what are we doing to try and fix things? Well, we started at the top down. As Linda said, we went to the State Secretary of State, we went to the New York State Police, we went to the Board of Elections, and we're not getting any traction anywhere. So we've now regrouped. We now have a resolution that we're taking to the towns and counties. And as of today, we had 56 towns and 17 different counties who signed that resolution. What does that resolution say? All it says is it asks the state to consider doing an end-to-end audit of our election process. We're saying, don't leave us just doing it, get an independent auditor in here and have them take a look at the data. So again, we exist to educate, advocate, and litigate. And we're here tonight for part of it, the education and advocating. And the litigation is going to be starting soon, probably either in the December or January period. And the approach we're going to be taking is we're going after the person who is certifying the elections. Her name is Kristen Zabrowski Stavitsky, Board of Election Co-Executive Director. And what we're going to do is we're going to charge her with failing to perform her duties. So some concluding remarks. Again, the quality of the data in the New York State voter rolls is atrocious. I worked in IT for 35 years prior to retiring, and this is the worst database I've ever seen. There is a very high error rate in the database. If you look at the number of errors versus number of votes. And what that means is that in a lot of the close races, we can't be sure who the real winner is. Nobody can be sure because that error rate is so high. So we don't know whether it's the problems are due to apathy, incompetence, or malicious intent. We don't care. Frankly, we just want the problems fixed. And unfortunately, the New York State Board of Elections has adopted an adversarial relationship with us. And my philosophy is, if you're innocent, then why are you behaving so guilty? Why are you trying so hard to discredit NICA? And why did you sick Letitia James on us? So often you know that you're over the target when you start taking flack. Audits are common within state and local government, and our opinion is, why should the Board of Elections be any different? So your vote, your civil rights are being diluted by all these errors in the database. The other good news is that there is a national version of NICA forming. There's half the states in the U.S. have joined that Team USA, which stands for United Sovereign Americans. And not only will New York State be filing, but as they get their data together, you'll see other states filing as well. So how can you help? Well, you can help individually by going to Audit New York and donating, and you can help as a town group here by signing our resolution that we have. We have currently 6 attorneys on staff, and sadly, they are not volunteers like the rest of the folks on NICA. So money is always an issue. So thank you for your time and considering our resolution. I'd like to introduce Holly.
Hi. I know, right? A lot of information for everybody. A lot to digest for sure. And I hear all the whispers here in the audience because people really understand what's going on. I hope everybody voted on election day. I did. I also worked at the polls, as did Linda. And at my polling station in Broome, it's funny because I took pictures of the tape at the close. And wouldn't you know it, Broome County reported more votes than people who actually came in and voted. And at Linda's station, I think they messed around with the keys, right? You were at 2 locations. The locks ran backwards. And you know what? When we call Broome County, just like it's not that Broome's any different from any other boards of elections, they sort of don't care. And it's really frustrating because they're supposed to care. They're paid to care. They're paid to administer a proper election. And the fact is that they're not. So we've been going to a lot of legislatures and boards of supervisors. Most of us, we're actually from the southern tier. And we're up here in Cortland. We like Cortland a lot. And we do have a lot of towns in Broome, right across the southern tier and in central New York, who are signed on to this. And we would very much like Preble to be right there with us. We have 11 in Broome, 2 in Tioga, 2 in Cortland. help me. We have one in Chemung. We have, I think, 7 in Steuben. So this area of New York State is standing up strong. We want our voices heard. I will tell you that we went, I love the nodding. We were in the town of Willett last week, and you know what?
We found it.
Huh? Did you hear about what happened in Willett?
No.
Okay, well, they listened to a presentation much like this one. And you know what? I was telling a story about what happened in another town, and all of a sudden I was closing, and I saw all the backs because those were round tables in Willett, and I saw everybody's backs, and it was very quiet. And I think somebody said, "What's happening?" And I said, "It looks like they're signing the resolution tonight," and they did. And it was very exciting. They heard, again, it was the same group. We have Jenny from Onondaga tonight with us, so we're excited. So that's just the difference between that presentation and this one, because people are really tired of being run over in elections. We don't know what's happening. I will tell you that I'm a counterfeit, not a counterfeit person, but in terms of the Board of Elections, I'm a counterfeit. I moved up 3 years ago from Westchester County. So in Westchester County, there's Holly Gruske, who's a voter. There's Holly D. Gruske, who's a voter. And there's Holly Halpern, my married name, who's also a voter. And then I moved up to Broome, and Holly Gruske votes there too. So there are 4 of me in the system. And yes, I called Westchester County, and they don't care. Guess what? My kids are also listed twice. Once in New Rochelle, where I moved up from, also in Vestal, as is for some reason my ex-husband. Don't ask. He wasn't supposed to move, okay? But anyway, so this affects people, and it's real. Not only that, this is a form of identity theft. What happens if more than one of my IDs is used? Well, guess what, guys? It's a felony for me. I will tell you, I will just sort of expand a little bit on the voter database because that's really important. Each of our 62 counties has a certain band of data. There's 21 million lines of data, as Rich, who works with it every day, on 5 different computers, as he told us. But there's 21 million lines of data, and each of our 62 counties.
Could we try to shorten this?
I'm done.
We all came here to work on town business. Most of us have worked all day. I think if people are interested, you can have a separate meeting.
Okay, I'll wrap up in 1 minute.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So anyway, so the fact is there's 21 million lines of data, and each county can only see their own data. They can't see anybody else's data. And I could go on and on about this because it is really interesting how it all works. But the fact is that your local BOE cannot see what's happening in Broome or Onondaga or Madison. They just simply can't see it. So I won't say it again because my teammates have already asked you about, I counted at least 3 times to sign our resolution. We'll come back next month. Okay, no problem. We also plan to be seeing Mr. Fitch hopefully Thursday night for a position on the agenda at Cortland. December? Okay.
Yeah, solely because our agenda is already out.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Can we come to a subcommittee beforehand? Because we can.
That's to the public.
Because we can bring our Rich is just dying to get out with his data. So we'd be happy to come to a subcommittee before and then maybe to the legislature. And would you be able to, if we did that, would you be able to vote on it in December, do you think? I know, but you have new people coming in, don't you?
What's that?
There was an election. We have to represent.
Okay, let's stick with the town of Preble here.
Great. Okay.
So can I ask a question?
Sure.
Yeah.
Just really quick. Because you're talking about the Board of Elections, which is county.
Mhm.
So what are you saying for Cortland County? Are you saying that we or our commissioners should be verifying every year the rolls for election?
Let me tell you what's happened, conversation when we were in the Shenango Board of Supervisors. We were at a subcommittee, and they said, it was very interesting. They said that they are diligently sending death notices, for example, to the Board of Elections. And they don't understand why these people are still on the voter rolls. So I don't know whether it's the problem we believe is not at the county level. Okay. I mean, yes, you have dead people voting. And the question is why, when the towns and the counties are sending the death data to the BOE, why are the people still on the rolls? That's a really good question. That's something for your local BOE. Okay. But the larger picture is at a state level and with the manipulation of the data. And that's where we say, golly, there's something happening. We don't know enough about it. We need an end-to-end audit to figure it out. And we're talking about like a third-party audit, like a Anderson or an EY or one of those specialists. We're not talking about us.
So, Mr. Supervisor, I'll talk to you out here.
No problem.
When they get to their executive session.
I don't mean to be rude, and I'm sorry, but we'd be very happy to come back in December with any questions or taking in any information. I don't know if you're
so the town board will review the packet.
great.
We'll read through it. We'll decide over the next month about signing this or not. And then in December, we can make a decision on that.
I want to thank you very much for your time, and I want to thank you all very much for your time and your attention. If you have any questions when they kick us out for executive session, we'll be happy to take them outside.
Okay, thanks for presenting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else?
My name's Pete Thorman, live up on Song Lake. I have one question quickly. Any of the speakers who just went, are any of you from Preble?
Actually,
Okay, just checking.
okay,
I just want to make sure.
actually, our leader who
No, I was just asking yes or no. Is anybody who spoke from Preble? Please. Okay. Also, I was asking concerning the planning board schedule is on the calendar. It's incorrect with what the information was put forward just now. At the planning board, it was said that the meeting, the 15th would be canceled and moved to the 29th, correct?
Not really.
Okay.
Okay, so the 15th is a regular planning board meeting,
And
although it's
not on the
usually,
schedule.
But the 22nd is.
Yeah, but the 22nd is.
right, well, that's a mistake somewhere along the way because that's the day before Thanksgiving. And the planning board always moves it up a week in the month of November. So if there was going to be nothing on the agenda for the 15th, I'm sorry, it says the 22nd. I don't know where that comes from. But
I'm just looking for clarification.
then just like any other monthly meeting, if there's nothing on the agenda, they'll cancel the meeting. So they anticipated that, but it is on and it's on until it's canceled. And I think there's an agenda matter on, Peter, so I do think the meeting will be held two nights from now.
Right now it says the 13th town board, 22nd planning board, December 7th.
That's on the website?
It's on the website.
Perfect.
Okay. Anybody else with questions, comments, statements, anything? Joe?
I just hope the town can get to relating to all the concerns you're hearing from the citizens about short-term rentals. If we could stop any new ones, that would be a nice step. The fact that you have 60 people signing a petition, I don't remember that. I've only been here 30-some years. And most of the people here tonight are here because they're very concerned about what's happening in their neighborhood. So we asked for a moratorium a couple months ago. That didn't happen. This is a very pressing issue. They violate our zoning code. My letter that I find on the town website. Thank you. But people are really concerned about this. And we really need the board to respond to those concerns.
There's a process right now, Joe, that we're following, and first we have to deal with the comprehensive plan. We have to button that up, and then we have to go on to our zoning code. And Don, can you comment a little bit about this process?
Well, Joe knows the process too, but the comprehensive plan, once it leaves the planning board, will be in the town board's lap. We're gonna need to have a public hearing as the planning board is having one too. But the town board will need to conduct a public hearing, hopefully from December into January. Once that public hearing is held, then the town board can approve. The proposed zoning law, which has kind of been held in abeyance pending completion of the update of the comprehensive plan, is kind of in the wings. And it's still with the planning board. The planning board is trying to get through the comprehensive plan, which, as I've said, I think will occur here in the next couple of weeks. And then their attention is going to turn to finishing up the proposed zoning law.
So we're taking this one step at a time.
And I understand about the moratorium, and it has been discussed further. And that can always be put back on the agenda from the town standpoint, town board standpoint.
Anybody else? Dave?
Yeah, one thing about short-term rental, I know everything has its good points and bad points. Now, we had our oak flooring redone in our living room and dining room this fall. And the guy went in there and did it. He sanded it right down to bare wood. He put on the finish, and the finish he used, we had him out of the house for 5 days while he was doing it. Now, yeah, we could have gone to a motel and paid $500 to $1,000 for a place to stay for them 5 days. But we found a short-term, what my daughter did, short-term rental, and we could rent for 5 days for maybe between $100 and $200. So a short-term rental worked very good for us because they had a microwave and stuff. We'd eat out once in a while, cook in once in a while. And it saves us a lot of money on short-term. But I realize it has bad points, but it has good points too. It wasn't in Preble, it was up to Telly across from Agway that we got it. It saved us a lot of money. It was very handy.
Okay, thanks, Dave. Anybody else? Yes, Sarky?
Sure, I just want to say, we agree. I mean, there's a place, and we use them as well. And I don't think that's the issue. They're not all bad. And I think they have their place. But our concern is that they're in a residential neighborhood and where they are impacting neighbors in a negative way. And in a place where it's already zoned to be not business. So that's the thing.
Yes.
Well, we live on Tully Lake, the south end, and we've been in the town of Tully for 1,000,000 years. So a lot of our family has moved out of the country, out of the state, and the only way they can come back and stay every year is in a place like this, because they couldn't. Can they go to Syracuse and stay in a hotel? Can they stay in the hotel in Tully? But who wants that? And everybody that I know in the last 5 years that has come and rented has been very, very, very respectful of the property, the noise, the cleaning it up, leaving things. I think it's the only way. And we've had several people that have come and realized what a gem it is out here and have gone on to buy places out here and support the community. I haven't seen any of the bad effects. And so I would hate for it to be a black and white. You can't do anything with your property that you don't want to. I mean, do we get 10 RVs in our lawn and have 30 people come for a week? That, to me, would be more invasive than a family renting a house for a week and enjoying the lake. That's just my
Okay.
opinion.
Thanks for your comment.
I have one more thing,
Yeah.
please.
Doug?
We've had the police called, neighbors calling police, bringing the police in against neighbors with our short-term rental stuff. It's happened several times. I've been here 25 years, never seen anything like that. The only time the police are called when there was somebody's dying or something like that. But this is neighbor calling the police against neighbor because of the short-term rentals. I find that, it's hard to believe for me. You know, I've been down here a long time and I've never seen that before. We've had it on numerous occasions. We've had other people come in and they've had massive parties. People have had their property destroyed and they've had, and they try to call the people that they think owns the property and it's not even, they don't even know who they are. You know, one of the properties on Sound Lake is owned by a corporation. It's not a private individual. They don't live in the town of Preble. They don't do any good to the town of Preble. They hold weddings there. They've held weddings there. I mean, this is clearly a business in a residential area. I mean, that's the bottom line. They're businesses in residential areas. I believe it goes against the zoning that is in effect for the town of Preble. Whether some people, and I agree that, you know, there might be a demand for them, but, and there's other areas in the state, and there's right in central New York, other villages and towns have banned these things, or they put stipulations on them in rules. You know, there's several, and it's gone all the way to the New York State Supreme Court. A resident who owned one in the village of, I believe it was Skinny Atlas, took it all the way to the state Supreme Court, and the village prevailed. So, you know, they're in a residential neighborhood. That's the bottom line. And they're rented out by the day. Sometimes they have a 2-day minimum or a minimum, but they're still hotels. And we have a hotel right in Tully. There's a hotel right in Tully right here. Right in what, 6 miles from here? So if people need to bring, you know, their families and stuff like that, they can stay there. You know, and this isn't a total ban. It's just saying of 30 days or less, we'd like to see. And
Thanks,
this
Jack.
is the 60 people that have signed this, that are all residents of Preble.
Thanks, Jack, for your comment. Yes.
Hi, Pete Thorman again. We live on Song Lake and we are there. That's our primary residence. We have a camp next door that we bought actually from Skip and renovated it and used it for personal use. I actually thought we'd be using it more, have more family come in, but you know, life gets in the way. So in the meantime, we started renting our property. The first people we rented to was not short-term. They stayed there for 2 months in the summer. We didn't like that setup. We didn't feel it was a good fit. But what can you do if you rent to somebody? You can't get them out. They are there, right? With what we do now is we rent our place out to people who want to visit the lake and the community. So when they come. If we have any problems, we are right there. We live right there. And we've been running it now for about 6 years, I guess. We've never had a single complaint. We've actually had nobody ever get kicked out that would stay overnight. We have specific rules that more than willing to have regulations on our property and follow the rules. As long as we can just rent our place out. Like, we're being told we can't rent our home, our own property. To me, it's just an overreach. I'm totally okay with having to jump through some hoops for parking and fire and safety and noise and you name it. We're willing to work on that. We're willing to enforce our own codes if the town can't come out and do the code enforcement. We're willing to do anything to just move forward and operate our rental as we have been doing legally for the past 6 years.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, if there's no other comments or questions, then at this time, the town board of Preble needs to go into executive session to discuss potential litigation.
If we can have a motion to that effect.
We need a motion to go into executive session.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session
At 8:05.
at 8:05.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.